Hi everyone, today we are making homemade almond joys. All right, so sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. Almond joys have nuts, mounds don't. All right, so before we started making anything, I actually went ahead and I bought an almond joy and I cut the inside of it and I tried it. So the coconut is a moist interior, kind of squishy, very sweet. There's a toasted almond on top of it, and then it's coated in a milk chocolate. So that's what we are going to attempt to do. So in my bowl, I already have 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. To that, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay. And then I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And typically people don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon, so that's just going to be 1/4 teaspoon, and it's half of the 1/4 teaspoon measurement. All right, I am using pink salt. And then I'm going to mix this together so everything gets fully incorporated. All right, now to that, I'm going to add an entire bag of sweetened coconut. Half of it I pre-toasted in my toaster at about 350 until it gets nice and dark and golden. I like that because it gives me some nice caramelly flavors, and it's a nice contrast to the soft coconut that we're gonna put in here. All right, so we've got that. Now we are just going to mix this until it's fully incorporated. Now the nice thing about this candy is it actually has a little bit of Connecticut history. So in like 1945 or 1946, depending on what you read, okay, the Peter Paul Candy Manufacturing Company, which has its roots in New Haven, Connecticut, okay, they started making this candy, and they actually came up with that little promotional jingle that I started the video with, and it actually helped them increase candy sales. So now that this is fully incorporated, what I'm gonna do is I have here, this is a 9x13 baking pan, okay? I have lined it with parchment paper, and then I sprayed it with some pan spray, which is right over here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to dump it onto my baking tray. And then I'm going to squish this down until it reaches every little crevice of the tray. I do like this tray because it has very nice straight sides. Okay, and I think that's pretty important. Okay, and this is pretty sweet, so things that kind of like stick to your sweet stuff. What you might want to do is, this is a metal scraper, and I'm just going to use it to flatten my coconut here. And this is really nice because, well, coconut doesn't have any gluten, nor does chocolate. So this is a naturally gluten-free recipe. Okay, you could also make this vegan or dairy-free by using some coconut sweetened condensed milk or some soy sweetened condensed milk. Okay, and I've also seen recipes online where you use some monk fruit to make it sugar-free. Okay, and then obviously in that case you would use unsweetened coconut flakes. All right, so now that is pretty flat. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my almond and just kind of make like an indentation. I don't even think I need to make an indentation. How's that? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna refrigerate it, and we're gonna come back in about an hour. All right, our coconut base has firmed up. It spent, I would say, about half an hour in the refrigerator, and it wasn't firm enough for me, so I actually popped it into the freezer for about 20 minutes just to get a little bit firmer. And then when it came out, I have kind of segmented it with my bench scraper, okay, to portion it out. And then again, with this stuff, if you want to be absolutely exact, you can, and you can get a ruler and do it. I just kind of eyeballed it. When you are making candies, an important thing is consistency of size, so everyone does kind of get the same portion. You don't want anyone to get mad if someone gets a smaller or bigger piece. And these are rectangular in shape. So the ones from what used to be Peter Paul and then was bought to Cadbury in 1988 and now is actually made by Hershey's, is kind of like round in shape. So if you wanted to get like a little rounded edge, this is just a little measuring cup from the medicine, and I kind of cut that in half just to kind of help me curl and shape this round. So we did this all in a 9x13 pan, and then we cut it. Now, you could also scoop it and just kind of free form little round logs and then put your almonds in. Or if you wanted, you could scoop this onto little hearts, put your almonds on there, and also, again, freeze and refrigerate. And then the next step of chocolate making is the dipping, or it's called enrobing. So what you're gonna do is you are gonna take your candies, and I'm already seeing that this is absolutely soft, but we are gonna go with it, okay? And I'm just gonna kind of tighten it up with my fingers. So what we have here is semi-sweet chocolate. Typically, Almond Joy is made with milk chocolate. Use the chocolate that you want to use. I just use Nestle. If you wanted to use a higher quality chocolate, you absolutely could. You could use Valrhona. If you wanted to go local, there's a chocolate company called Rocca out of Brooklyn, and you could absolutely do that. And then I'm just going to take my little logs and dip it into the chocolate. I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to tap the excess chocolate. And put it onto my tray. Okay. And again, this setup to melt the chocolate is called a double boiler. So in my pot, I have about 1 inch of water, and it's simmering. You don't want anything to boil because chocolate melts between 86 and 90 degrees, and you don't want your chocolate to burn. And in addition to my chocolate, I also added a little bit of coconut oil, and that thins it out and gives it a little bit of a sheen. All right, so I'm gonna do one more. And again, I'm just gonna tighten it up and kind of give it a little circle shape with my handy dandy tool there. And I'm noticing that it's a little wet, which is fine. And again, I'm gonna dunk it in there. And then with the fork, give it a little flip. And then tap it out, tap out the excess. Okay. So I'm gonna finish the rest of these and we will show you the finished product once they're ready. So our chocolate has set, and I was not liking the results that I was coming up with. So when you don't like the results, you change and you modify. So to change and modify, I kind of just made like little rounds, and then I dipped the bottoms in chocolate, which left like a pretty like little nest appearance. And I decided to take all of my melted chocolate and I put it and I spread it on everything else. Now I'm just going to put a piece of parchment on top. I'm going to invert it. And then cut it from the bottom. All right. Now you could, again, if you wanted to, take more chocolate and do this bottom side, or you can just leave it as it is. And then with a knife, you can cut it into squares. Okay. And I actually think I prefer the inverted method the best. Okay, so this is our homemade Almond Joy. And just to compare it, all right, so this is the store-bought one, and this is the homemade one, okay? So you can tell just in texture, it's a little bit different. All right, you see the bicolor coconut, and it does not have the chocolate dip almond. All right, but I think my coconut looks a little bit better than the store-bought. However, their chocolate is uniformly coated and enrobed all throughout. Unfortunately, I don't have machinery like they do. Okay, and I'm gonna cut this into little squares so me and my cameraman can enjoy. So much fresher. I love the contrast of the fresh coconut with the toasted coconut. Definitely a make again, but next time I'm making it, I'm going with the chocolate all along the entire pan, and then cutting it into small little bars, into bite-sized pieces. All right, so homemade Almond Joy, originated right here in Connecticut. Try whichever method and shape and size you'd like. Happy eating, happy making. I love you all. Have a beautiful day.